Hello and welcome to the Be Formless Flow Driven CEO. I have a fellow Aussie with me here and also a gorgeous woman from the US. But the fellow Aussie has been in the States since like the 90s. But I want to introduce you to Heather Rogers and Velia Risso. Velia, I'm going to let you explain your actual married surname because I'm going to get myself tongue twisted. But welcome to the show, Heather and Velia. I'm so excited to have you here today.
Excited to be here. Thanks so much.
It's so funny hearing an American accent and an Australian accent all in one. Like, I'm just like, it's actually blowing my head off a little bit. Do you know what I mean? Like that, all the way from San Francisco. So it's what, Thursday, 8:40, no, sorry, Thursday, 3:45 p.m. and it's, Friday morning here, 8:45 a.m. And that also always blows my head off where, I keep rambling on about this, but there's this whole thing around past, future, here we are in the present, and quite cool because we're going to be talking a lot about magic today. And I'm a little bit nervous. I won't lie because I never know what sort of magic tricks are going to get thrown at me. And I'm always kind of like, how did you do that? So, but let me just do a quick intro and then let's get into talking about what you ladies have been up to. So, Heather, you're an award-winning magician, comedian, and peak performance speaker. What a combination. 4,000 performances. And you also, which is amazingly incredible, you spoke at the President Obama's inaugural ball in Caesar Palace. So I'd love to hear a little bit about that because that sounds like what a defining moment in history. You blend magic, mentalism, epigenetics to create transformative experiences. And you're also a certified epigenetics coach and co-founder with Velia of the Curated Entertainment, which we'll get into. Velia, you're a producer, MC, and composer. You're a dynamic duo, you two. Trained by Australian Trained by Australian superstar Marcia Hines. Everyone knows Marcia Hines here in Australia. What an incredible woman. And performed live on the ABC 7 News. And he appeared as Cher in San Francisco's longest running show, Blanket Babylon. So that sounds super interesting in itself, that title. So I'd love to hear a little bit about that. And you co-founded Curated Entertainment with Heather, and it's specializing in high-touch experiential entertainment and team building programs. From what I'm understanding, it's a boutique agency that designs immersive, high-impact experiences for corporate teams, leadership groups, and live audiences. And what your signature offerings are is mentalism, and I'm really interested in exploring this a bit as well. We've got so much to explore. Music, storytelling, and cognitive science to elevate performance, build cohesion, and for me, what I like to, really going deep within to awaken that deeper self-awareness and all of the heartbeat or our souls. That's what I'm all about as well. So tell us about this magic, this liveliness, the transformational presence and how, like, there's this whole thing around how this then enables this creative flow. So I'm going to hand it over to you both, but yeah, I feel like we're going to be talking for a little bit.
Go ahead, Heather. Well, we came together. I've been a full-time magician 25 years, and Velia has been a producer, a vocalist, a composer for that long. And about 8 years ago, we came together to create Curated Entertainment, and we just have a great time. And a lot of the big event associations haven't known what to do with us because there's nothing like us. We'll create an entire custom evening for people that's way beyond the champagne skirt and the aerialist, right? And so we're finally, people now finally are bringing us in, and for creative consultation, for marketing ideas, because you would kind of have to reinvent the medium for us because we kind of do it all to a degree. We're like sort of sketch comedy comedians meet soulful consciousness hackers,
Oh,
right?
I love that.
So
Soulful consciousness
yeah.
hackers. I'm going to steal that. That's amazing.
Oh, damn. There's another thing you can steal what was really core to us, and that is as we are our sort of flagship is our mentalist show, Rogers and Rizzo. We're America's only female mentalist magical duo at this point in time. And our mentalism show is really empowering. It's the opposite of the contemporary magicians. Usually a guy, kind of shady guy, and and a message of mine. And now, we're about the intuition revolution. We're about empowering women to trust themselves. And the deeper we've gone into this conversation, we started out trying to replicate, intuition just through magic. And we're finding the crossover is strikingly and, hair-raisingly close. It's amazing. Velia is very intuitive, and I am too. And then when we combine that with the skills, it's surprising us every day. So we are creating contexts for people and women. Women are sort of our market, but really everyone to go all the way to their core essence and trust that, because now is the time. I love AI. I was just on an AI panel,
cool.
for our in that industry, and I'm very cutting edge AI. And AI's best use is to mirror us and to help us feel seen, and that's coming from AI too. And so in tandem, we can dance together and exponentially thrive. Because the last thing I'll say, and I want to hand it to you, Velia, is, people have goals of what they want to be, what they want to do. And in my humble opinion, the highest calling is to do what makes you feel most alive.
Yeah, I agree.
And so that's what we do. We want to help people do that because all the world is pulling us out, in social media, and it's training us through dopamine hits to be out. So we want to pull people back in, but we're going to trick them. We're going to trick them by making them laugh, by astounding them, by bringing them together, by creating ecstatic feeling, and then they're going to be wanting that. It's our goal. But go ahead and share.
So sorry, just Heather, just before we jump over to Velia, just because I have got a question on this. So the magic, the tricking them is to get them to go back within. You're tricking them to go back within because, like, am I getting this right in terms of, because we are so like fixated and, like you say, dopamine, and we're always going externally, so we're always looking for solutions, or we're always like looking for that reward externally versus coming back to within. Are you actually, is that what your magic is doing? Like, or will actually I leave it to like let you explain it?
I'd love to address that and then let Velia give her hit. And that is, there's a funny thing in magic. We often, I use the word trick, but often we don't use the word trick. We use the word effect. This is a magical effect because we want to give it regard.
Yeah.
But really, we don't trick them. We misdirect them. We're misdirecting them from, we can call it the false self. You can call it the ego. You can call it the patterns, the program self. It's the facade. And as I've learned in my journey that there's no way to really get all the way that this part can get all the way back there, because we're an artifact of pure source. So what we're just sort of redirecting them toward pure source so they can be all their detailed selves. But does that make sense?
That makes
that's what the magic
sense.
does.
No, thank you.
Misdirection.
Yeah, I would say that we use magic in actually all of our programs as a catalyst for connection and to ignite imagination. I think that's the way that I would describe it. For us, it's less about being performative and being performers on a stage. We do a lot of our performances actually in a mingling context.
Yeah, cool. I love it.
So it's really about connecting with people in a real way, as opposed to walking up to someone and saying, pick a card. Now you've chosen this card. It's not that for us. We approach people and we approach them as people. Hi, my name's Velia. What's your name? Where are you from? What do you do? Well, actually, we love to make magic. Can we, make magic with you right now? People go, oh, okay, because they're not expecting that. And then we'll use the magic, as Heather said, to sort of bring them outside of their ordinary state, to like open them up to possibility beyond what they thought was possible, in that particular moment. And we do a lot of, Heather's really great at pulling other people into the conversation. So we may be having a conversation, doing some magic. We'll see other people are looking, and she'll say, well, come on in and watch, and, you know, hold this end of this handkerchief. And so for us, I think our intent when we perform, whether it's magic or our team building programs or MC programs, it's about people coming together.
Yeah.
And it's about human connection for us. Yeah.
Love that. There's so much in that because, you know, like you talk about authenticity and then there's this inauthenticity.
Yeah.
And my experiences with magic have always been exactly what Heather you explained. I'm just like that. Throw something coming at you and it's almost in your face and you're a little bit like, well, what is this sort of thing? Like it almost like takes you so far away from yourself because you're just like, oh, like, you know, when we talk about, and I'm not like psychological safety, I kind of think, but you know what I mean? Like, I shouldn't say it like that, but I think it's more around how are you connecting, and I love the way you're doing it in such an authentic way. It sounds amazing. Tell us more.
Well, I like to say we like to connect high tech and high touch.
Incredible yellow is one of my favorite colors as well.
Oh, beautiful.
Tell us about the mentalism. Like, can you explain a bit more about that, please? Just so that we can kind of, because I'd love to understand a little bit more as well in terms of, yeah, how does that work within what you're doing?
Sure. You want to go or shall I take this?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Well, there's a whole lot to say. I'm going to speak again about intuition and that we're interested in this. So we're looking at the science of it. We're looking at the somatic, but I've coined the term the sacred somatic, meaning in the body, in the moment. Intuition can only happen in the moment. Presence can only happen in the moment. Flow can only happen in the moment.
100%.
And so we're quite interested in getting people in the moment and letting them explore through their physicality what's available. Like there are circumstances where a fireman comes into a building and he knows intuitively it's going to fall down. How does he know it's going to fall down? Because he's got thousands of hours in the back of his brain with all these complex patterns informing his subconscious so that he knows. But is it intuition or is it, in fact, I'm wondering if eventually we'll move away from the word intuition into being a somatic sensing, somatic patterning, awareness, heightened sensitivity, right? So that's the first kind of reality-based thing idea that component that we'd like to bring to the world, and that is let's move out of the realm of woo and more into the realm of science and what we can know now, which we know that Willow is a microchip that I'm sure you're well of, that can complete in 5 minutes what it takes supercomputers today the lifetime of the universe. So it's in fact, we did close-up magic for that team, the Deep Minds team at Google, as soon as they launched Willow, and we met them and they warned us. They said, oh, these are going to be really coders. They were lovely. Talk about that and then take it from there.
Yeah, they were really lovely. Yeah, I think, whether people are really techie or whether they're not, I think everybody understands the concept of intuition. They understand that everyone has experienced that. So, what we do is we sort of, we take it a step further when we do add sort of magical effects to it so that we get to the point where we can, we ask people to point to a card that resonates with them. We ask Heather to turn around. We ask the participant to telepathically send that card to Heather, then put that card in Heather's hand while she's turning around.
Why don't
we can absolutely do that right now.
While you're still getting ready. Yeah, I think it's so fascinating what you're doing.
Okay, so go ahead and turn around, Heather. Okay. Now, Belinda, can you see these cards? Now, this one's, I don't want to.
It's going right up close to my
So, if you could just say stop when we get to a card that resonates with you. If you just turn around, Heather. Thank you. So don't say it out loud, but just say stop. Oh. Some of these have turned around.
Stop.
Oh,
Imagine that you're telepathically sending this card to Heather. So maybe just take a deep breath in, exhale. When you're ready, focus on sending this card to Heather's outstretched palm.
oh, I felt it. Might I look now?
I'll turn it away.
Okay, I felt a trinity, but it felt like a trinity of trinities. So I saw a 9, and there was a lot of warmth in it. I felt like it was a 9 of hearts.
It was the 9 of hearts. Good job sending that transmission. Wonderful. Well done.
This is the bit that blows my head off, right? Like, you can't rehearse that. You can't actually so this is this is where the magic is. Like, I felt when I was doing that, and I'm a highly intuitive. I've got a lot of sixth sense as well. It's getting more and more heightened as I've gone on my own journey of, self-actualization and going back within. And when you were asking me, Velia, what to do, I was actually could visualize and see that.
Yeah.
But the bit that I always like from a magic perspective is like, is that real? Like, how did you work that out? Like, do you know what I mean? Because the word magic is like, yeah, anyway, it always blows my mind. But I never put, science and intuition together with magic. And I think that's exactly what this is, right? Like, it's exactly what you're proving out here, because magic has always been like a bit, Heather, you said it, shady, a little bit like, smoke and mirrors.
Yeah.
Whereas this, you're actually going, no, it's not.
Yeah.
We're actually proving out
I
this
want to tell,
can do.
I want to, sorry, I want to give you an example of one thing Velia does is we have an effect where you come up, you empty as much change as you want onto a tray. Velia's back is turned. You pick up any coin, I put it in a glass, and just by the sound, she knows what it is. She names it. And then we just pick up all the change, we dump into a glass, and she tells you how much the change was. But before she says that, she tells a story. We tell a brief story of this is how she opens it, about being a mother.
Yeah, we talk. By the way, are you a parent?
I actually I've got 3 nieces and a nephew, and I've got a beautiful. I'm a puppy mum, so I've got a little 18-month-old with Pet. I don't have children, but he's my child. He's divine, and he's sound asleep next to me. Yeah.
Well, I think most people can relate to some type of maternal or paternal love, whether it's with fur babies, with nieces and nephews, as you mentioned, or with, your biological children, adopted children. A lot of people, a lot of adults have had that beautiful experience. So I talk about the fact that, I have the fine-tuned hearing of a mother. And, most people can relate to that. Like, I'm sure when the puppy is up to no good.
Oh, yeah.
In the other room.
Yes.
And with the coin effect, I talk about the fact that when my daughter was little, she used to always try and break into her piggy bank. And so I could always hear her shaking her piggy bank, trying to get coins at. And I got so good at hearing it, I could actually have started to be able to determine how many coins, because I could hear the weight of them. So I started with a hardwood floor. So I started being able to determine how much money she took out, because she'd say, no, I didn't. And so that's kind of what we talk about things like that, when we're doing,
Versus I'm the cool one. It's like, isn't life amazing? And let's savor and celebrate.
Yeah. And these are things that a lot of people can relate to. Maybe they didn't have that exact experience, but they understand what it means to be so in tune with what your loved ones are doing.
Oh, I agree. I totally agree with you.
And then it almost gives you superpowers,
Well, it does. Absolutely. So talk to me about, so you do a performance or you do a program, and you apply all this science and you apply all this magic, if you like. Well, it is magic. But then what do people do with it? Like, in terms of, so how do you bring that then? How do they then bring that into their practical lives in terms of, that deeper going in, that deeper awakening. Like, how does it work from with your programs and once you've done the perform well, you said it's not performative, but do you know what I mean? Like, how does it then become what do they take away? Like, is it that they're able to then tap more into their intuition, their creativity, their flow, and being more aware of when they can tap into it and when they're resisting it, or when they're, we've got, you talk a bit about, well, you cognitive, I can't remember what the word was, but cognitive overload. Like, I'm sure you talk a lot about that as well in terms of, yeah, tell me about that.
Oh, I'll take this quickly. And that we're also speakers. And
Yeah.
we were actually, Sherm flew us to Vegas to perform at their 70th, to do a talk at their 70th anniversary conference about wellness and precision wellness and that. And so in our talks and our trainings, we give intuitive toolkits to people in terms of like practical exercises that they can do to strengthen awareness, meditation, mindfulness practices that have a fun twist to them. We talk about journaling, physical, and there's experiments you can do on yourself in terms of like, you write down 3 things you think might happen today. And at the end of the day, you list how you did. And also being aware of intuition blockers, identifying really, stone cold honesty, what interferes with your own clarity, what stresses you out, what digital overloads can you at least be aware of if you're going to be in the face of them. And then create intuitive challenge. We give them a 30-day challenge to develop their own skills. And it's really just listening to your heart. But we know so much more just by our somatic understanding. So we help them create conditions for that.
Oh, okay. I love that. I love that.
And I would say, even on a level where we're doing, we do a lot of mingling, magic, and mind reading at corporate receptions and things like that. So if we're not doing a talk, I would say what we always strive to do is make people feel special and make them feel like they're just as magical as we are, just in different ways. And I think that's honestly the greatest gift that you can give someone, is seeing them for who they are and letting them know that, like, we're here, we're entertaining, we're entertainers, but you're amazing too. And that's why we have conversations with them, to try and understand where their magic lies, and to try and sort of impart on them that, you walk every day and you know that you are just as magical.
And it's
so I think
magic.
that's
yeah. And we have training. Like, I trained at Berkeley Psychic Institute for many years at Psychic Horizons. So I have an effect where I have them write something in a wallet, and then I look at their energy. I have them say their full name 3 times. I ask them to ground to the center of the planet. I have them breathe, and then I have them and I have them say their name, and I stop and I go like this, and I stay as long as I need to go until I start to get imagery. Now, is that just sensing? Did I cold read them? Maybe. I can say what they drew on that wallet, and often I'll see where they're leaking energy, or I'll see guides above them saying no access, and is that my imagination? Might be, but by the end, they're often crying with us because they've been seen.
Yeah.
And because it's always reverential, right? It's like, I know I'm in the presence of a magnificent creature of creation. I know that toward everybody. So when I bring that, so in that way, we're sending a transmission to them of by meeting them, by seeing their magnificence, if that makes sense. So that does help them in their journey.
No, I love that, because everything you've talked about, Valia, just then, and Heather, it's like it's bringing that magic out within them. Like, it's kind of like lighting them up, like making them their most alive whole selves. Tell me a little bit about your business journey, because obviously what you're doing, and then, the magic, kind of like the magic woo-woo versus what you're talking around in terms of intuition revolution, the science behind it. This is the first time I'm meeting women who have a business that is like, I've never thought about or spoken about magic the way you're talking about it, and I absolutely love it. And especially, like we were talking before the show around my formless piece around, that's that reimagining and creating, and it's the magic, it's the chemistry, it's everything we're talking about. tell me about the journey from co-founders in terms of you've no doubt had, your own intuition business blockers where you're like too woo-woo for us. How have you made this how have you brought this in to be more mainstream? What was there a magic trick that you, so to speak, that or has it just been persistence? You know, what has it been to be able to crack the code with what you're doing? Or are you still cracking that code given where we're at in the world? There's almost old world, if you like, and then there's this new world order. I know they're big questions, but tell me a little bit about that.
Do you want to start?
Yeah, I would say it's everything that you just talked about. First of all, though, we started as best friends. We met up networking. We were friends for 10 years before we started working together.
Wow.
We both had our own. I had a musical theatre troupe. Heather was doing magic and speaking, and we met out networking in the events industry here in the San Francisco Bay Area, and we just hit it off. I met her and thought she was this incredible woman, and we became really good friends. And my husband actually kept saying, you two should work together. But we kept saying, well, we'd love to, but how do we, our backgrounds are very different. Although what started happening is our clients started asking us to customize our programs.
Mm.
So, can we have musical theatre, but can you customize it to a space theme? Or can you do magic or but customize it to a 1920s speakeasy theme? And we, in conversations, realized, well, we're both starting to get to ask to customize, and both of us are getting these opportunities to do, to go beyond, just our skill set. So maybe if we join forces, we could, open up the services that we can provide to these clients. And we're both, as woo as we are, we're both actually very pragmatic people. Yeah. So we're all about, look, there's opportunity here. Let's see if we can fill it.
Wow. Yeah. Thank you for all that. We could go on forever, but I want to talk about what is our secret sauce.
Mm.
And our secret
without
sauce
giving it all away.
Yeah, it's that we are love bugs. I mean, I have my way. I'm love scrubbing every particle in creation while I'm meditating, and I just every night I see, I love that. I want to see when I'm walking down the street and I see a stranger, I want to get them in a headlock and just love them, right? So I'm like this rascally kind of, wild, but I'm quiet about it, but I'm this radical love creature. And Velia is like a tender, she did you eat well? She's like a grandmother soul who loves, when she has friends who are ill, she's there. She's camped out on their, on their house, helping them. So we have our own high octane love frequency. And that's what we bring to our business. We sit on Zoom 5-6 hours a day and we run the business. We did so many reach outs today. We met with a client today to propose a really interesting, trivia / magic / karaoke concept. And so we love business. I mean, Jim Collins, All the Good to Great, Great by Choice, How the Mighty Fall, Entrepreneur 2.0, all the books by Jim Collins we love. And we love transformation technology, meaning, the biohacking, the conscious hacking, and AI, what AI is doing. So we're lucky to be in an area where we're really close to the pulse, Silicon Valley, and we just are voracious. And so we love business. We just so that's part of it, and it's a lot of work. And I guess we're both Aries, I guess. So
yeah, I'm a Leo, so we're all fire. We got fire energy going on here. I get along really well with you.
Yeah, that's why we all click so well. I think, I mean, if you were in the Bay Area, we'd be absolutely hanging out.
Yeah, 100%. I feel like we would be.
Yeah, no, I think we absolutely would be. That we love, and another thing that's unique about us, we know quite a few other partnerships in the Bay Area in our industry, but we're the only two that actually we do the same job. So we do sales together. We compose and networking together and creating our programs together and then performing together. We do everything together, whereas a lot of other people will break up the roles.
Yeah.
But we find with sales, we actually love sales and we love the challenge of it. And we love being in the sales conversation and bringing our aesthetic and everything that we are to the sales process. It doesn't need to be cold. It doesn't need to be pushy. It doesn't need to be what we're not, you know?
We had to get those skills. We've taken all the
Yeah.
sales courses, all the conversion courses,
Yeah.
Addressing objections. I've been, for many years, I was a chosen MC to a lot of women in business for their big, their big thing, or I'd do the MC in magic and they'd offer their $75,000 program. So I was in the war room with them figuring it out. And so we're in it, and it's still about, it's a creative conversation. When we're networking,
Yeah.
we say, so what's your business? And what do you, and then we just, we don't blast them with ideas, but it's like, oh, have you thought of this? We're just so excited about how we can help them, because it's a whole new world. You're right. It's a whole new world. And now it's a meritocracy. It's the most creative one. And we have the technology to help us do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's incredible. Like just that, dynamic duo. And for me, it's that collective flow state, right? Or that group flow state that you both are, bringing to the table. And, like intuitively, like again, this is a question, from an intuition perspective, we've all got individual intuition. Can you have group intuition? Can you have combined intuition where you two, it's like you can read each other's thoughts, or do you know what I mean? Do you think there's something in that
Oh, yeah.
as well?
Oh, yeah. I mean, we can feel each other, and that's been going on for quite a while. I remember there was one night and we were leading up to a big program. So we were deep in rehearsal and all of that. And I had something, I can't remember what it was that happened, but I had something happen and I was upset about it. But I thought, I'm not going to tell Heather because I don't want to burden her with it while we're in this really busy state. The next day we got together to rehearse and she said, oh I could not sleep last night. I couldn't stop thinking about you. What's going on? Because I couldn't sleep. And I said, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I was trying not to burden you, but actually I did anyway, because she could feel my energy. And that happens to us quite often, where I can feel like if she'll go out and do something and I can feel in my bones, like it's not going well. And I'll reach out to her and say, are you okay? Because I'm feeling, or the opposite could happen, or I'll say, I've got such a good feeling about this, And so, yeah, that happens a lot. It's actually scary how much that happens with us.
And I think it's for women. Two quick things. There's a podcast about the children who are autistic. And
Yes.
it happens. About that podcast?
I never heard about it. Yeah. One of my friends told me about it. I have not listened to it, but I've got it. I need to listen to it.
It's amazing.
It's in different rooms, and the mother is writing something. The kids draws exactly what the mother's writing. But I want to talk about something else, and that's just hot off the press that you might be quite interested in. Last week, I was at it was called Human Plus AI Conference, put on by a wonderful woman named Nicole Bradford, and hundreds of people came in, and they were talking about the latest thing with AI. And there were a lot of activations. And Mickey Siegel, one of the founders of the consciousness hacking community here, he's created this technology where it's about up to 24 people with balls, and you're holding a ball, and the ball is lighting up, and it's reading your biology, and it's reading the group room. So there's a whole group, it's in the dark, so everything's lighting up, and it's all like a group symphony. And then they can feel and then when people bring it down, it changes. So he just got funding to get 100, I think it's 500 people involved. So keep an eye out for Group Flow with Mickey Siegel. So this group intuition is now, the technology's there.
Yeah, which is it's breaking it down, isn't it? Because it's how do we normalize this? Because this for me is the future of business. It's the future of leadership. It's the future.
Yeah.
And so, it's everything about tapping back to within and then bringing out the what's possible in us, in each and every one of us. And you're doing that through such a profound way in business. And I love it because it's not the woo-woo piece, it's the science piece. I've got pretty much probably two questions for you both. Based on that, what do you see the future of leadership and business looking like in the next, I don't know, 2 years? I'm going to say 2 years, just based on the pace of AI and everything we're talking about, and the human potential piece. Yeah.
I'll jump in on this, and that is a lot of experts are saying, because people want to know how can we make money while helping turn the tide. Now, 74 trillion dollars is going to be handed down from the baby boomers to the Generation Xers and the Alpha generation in the next 5 years. If you stack dollars, it would go, to the moon and back many times of that much money, right? So who wants, how are we going to modulate that money? Where is it going to go? So currently, there's a lot of people agreeing that the thing to do is turn yourself into a fund, meaning you become a venture capitalist. And how do you do that? You can gather with other people, because when you become a fund, you can then put money in things that are proactive for the future. And used to be really expensive to create a fund. Now you could do it for around $8,000 through different websites. So the future, it's happening very, very quickly, but we're humans, and we're gonna, humans, we are very rugged creatures. We're gonna weather all this. But this idea of creating a fund, either if you don't have enough with your group, then you can join other funds that are environmental and activists. So that's my thought. There's a whole lot more we could say, but I want to give that little piece because
I love that.
A lot of people are agreeing. Yeah.
Thank you for that. That's incredible. Velia?
Yeah, I think in terms of leadership, I think it's gonna have to start to become more real, because I think AI will replace functions just like other technology has replaced functions. But I think more and more, especially with, I don't know what's going on in Australia at the moment. I'd love to ask you in terms of remote work, but a lot of our clients are remote working a lot of the time, and only getting together a couple of days a week, if that. And so we do get brought in to, entertain groups that are getting together for the only time that year, and it's a big deal. So I think, in order to retain people, to keep people invested in businesses, leadership's going to have to start to get more real and more personal.
Yeah, I agree.
Have real conversations, not just this like, oh, let's all get on a call and chat about our weekends for 20 minutes. I don't think that's going to cut it to keep people invested, and to make people feel like they're part of something
important.
Part of something important.
Which is
So I think, having leaders having a real investment in people, not just paying lip service.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, that for me is that soulful, conscious leadership with the ability to access high flow, everything that we're talking about. Look, in Australia, it's really interesting. It's like COVID happened, especially in Melbourne, and we were the longest lockdown. But essentially, there is hybrid. It's generally 2 to 3 days, 3 days. But then I'm hearing it's 5 days mandated back in the office. There's some that are remote. It's a bit of a mixed bag, really. But I think exactly what we've been talking about in this whole time on the show is how do you bring people together, like in terms of from a place of authenticity, from a place of connection, from a place of, deep awareness, to then be able to tap into that, not only individual inner intuition, but the group flow, the group intuition, because that's where you're going to see the magic. That's where you're going to get the creativity. That's where you're going to get the results.
Right.
That's what is going to form this new world order we're talking about. And I think there's a big job there. And that's why women like yourself and what you're doing in business and what I'm doing in business, that's why we're here, because we have to trailblaze the way through to get everybody to see this, because this is where we're at our most alive. And I love what you're doing. One last question, because we have been talking for a while and I'm conscious I've taken up probably too much of your time. What would be one piece of advice, one bit of wisdom that you would give right now? I'm just going to leave it at that. I'll just keep it really broad.
Uh,
I would put you on
it's a
the
very
spot.
broad question. One piece of advice. I would say dream big, but back it up with actionable steps to
Yes.
take to get there.
I
So I
love.
would say the sky is the limit, but make sure that you do have that pragmatic, practical,
Yes.
these are the steps that I'm going to take to get there. And of course, you might take step 1 and 2 and then realize you've got to change what you thought step 3 was going to be, and that's fine. But I think magical thinking doesn't work. There's a
No,
lot
it's
of that in
awesome.
the Bay Area where we are. There's a lot of just sort of ask the universe. I personally don't believe in that. I think that, yes, ask the universe, put it out in the universe, but then
How am I
back
going to
it
do it?
up with real kind of actionable steps to take. So
Yeah.
that's mine.
I want to do a two-parter. I want to quickly address what you last said, and that was how do we get people to have these experiences in a group? And that's why our official title is experience designers.
Yeah.
We design experiences, journeys, interactive, immersional experiences. And that's what UX is in tech, right? User experience. So it's all about experience design, and you can experience design your own day, your team's day, and on. And so I just wanted to add that piece, and it's
No.
about creativity,
Yeah. It's
right?
amazing.
Flow. And then my advice, my last piece would be do whatever you have to do to hold the line with yourself. Because the greatest technologies of the world are trying to push against your boundary to own your attention, because that's the greatest asset that you own. You can always get more money. You can never get more time. You can never get more attention. And so hold the line, whether it's, I'm only eating fruit, a veggie, and a protein today, no crackers, no sweets, whatever that line is for you. I will not, if someone disrespects me in a relationship that I'm dating, I will not, just hold that line, because there's so much wanting to, pull that down. So whatever that line is for you. And so how do we do that? We have accountability partnerships. You have people we talk to in the morning. I have an action partner, 3 minutes each. We say what we're going to do. Okay. So that's my thing, is just hold the line. And one of the things I encourage people to hold the line with is 30 minutes, 20 to 30 minutes of quiet time every day. We're talking no technology. And there's lots of, I just bought this great helmet that has infrared going in it's just red lighting, but it stimulates the mitochondria for different things that I want. And that's going to have me sitting wearing this goofy helmet. But
I want it. I want the helmet.
Got to get one. It's called Neuromatrix.
Neuromatrix.
You'll love it. Yeah, it's great. So that's what I would say, is hold the line with yourself. That's your dignity and your integrity and your self-esteem is what's gonna carry you through this, and your love.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Such an amazing conversation with such amazing women and what you're doing in the world. Thank you so much. How do we hear more about Curated Entertainment and both of you?
Yeah, curatedentertainment.biz is our website. Our Instagram is curated_ENT. That's probably the best way to keep up with us. We're updating our website all the time. It talks about all the different programs we do and our philosophy, and our Instagram is great for just keeping up with us day to day, what we're up to.
And we have an open invitation, truly from our hearts, that if you need some ideation, if you want a spark of imagination, if you want to get some inspiration, it feeds us to help you. Yeah. So if you're working on a project and you're like, we want Wizard of Oz meets mining town meets Bitcoin. What do you got? We'll be like, okay,
Let's do it.
So
we get that. We get
crazy. So that's an open invitation, that if you want an ignition of inspiration or ideation, we're here to help you.
Oh, thank you so much. Oh my gosh, I'll be spreading the word, that's for sure. Thank you so much, ladies. I've had the best session. What a way to start my Friday, and obviously winding up your Thursday. Thank you again. And I love what you're doing, and keep just being love bugs as well, because that's just the love bugs is just the best, right? So yeah, thank you so much. I keep saying thank you, but have a wonderful afternoon, and yeah, look forward to seeing what you do more in the world.
Well, thank you for what you're doing. I mean, you know, having these conversations need to happen and be put out into the world. So thank you for what you're doing. And
thank you for being formless.
Thanks, Heather. Thanks, Velia. Love what you're doing. Talk soon.
Thank